We're going to talk about the hottest topic of this year, perhaps, which is unlisted shares.
Private limited and public limited company is that a private limited company cannot have more than 200 shareholders. The popular term actually is called grey markets.
Yes.
Because it's grey.
50 Shades of Grey. I think NSE has been a hot share for quite some time.
Swiggy being the hottest right now because of all the celebrities
yes.
infusing money.
I've lost count who all I've entered. Amitabh Bachchan ka naam dekha.
Madhuri Dixit.
So the main bull case seems to be that Swiggy versus Zomato comparison.
Sure.
Because they are a kind of duopoly, they both have roughly equal market shares. ये सब्जी मंडी में होता है, but I have not seen this happening in the stock market.
The main euphoria in unlisted markets, the thing that people don't understand is they can't sell immediately after the listing happens. There is a 6-month lock-in for any sort of unlisted share.
Hello and welcome. I am Neil Borate, personal finance editor at Mint, and joining me today is the one and only Yash Roongta of Alt Investor. We're going to talk about the hottest topic of this year, perhaps, which is unlisted shares.
Yeah.
And the frenzy that's happening with the Swiggy pre-IPO unlisted shares.
Yeah.
So let's begin by first understanding what are unlisted shares, how are they bought and sold?
Sure. Thanks for inviting me, Neil. Unlisted shares are not your normal equity shares which can be traded on a regulated exchange like the NSE or BSE. Unlisted shares can be issued by any public limited company. There's a common notion in the market, if you become a public limited company, it has to be listed in the market. That's not the case. Any private limited company, when they get converted into public limited company, can issue unlisted shares. The only difference between a private limited and public limited company is that a private limited company cannot have more than 200 shareholders. When you become a public limited company, the compliances increase. These compliances are followed by the MCA, and those companies can issue as many shares as they want, increase their share capital, decrease their share capital.
Yeah. And the trading in unlisted shares has been around for many years.
Many years. And there are platforms, there are intermediary brokers. They don't need to be licensed by any regulator per se, but they
so basically Wild West.
It's a Wild West to some extent. And the popular term actually is called grey markets.
Yes.
Because it's grey.
50 Shades of Grey.
Because it's grey in terms of, how is it priced and who to rely on. So it's nothing is regulated per se, but the market has existed for a long time. And, it generally quotes as a premium to, wherever the estimated share price is going to be based on the demand and supply.
Yeah.
But you can approach any intermediary broker or even fintech platform nowadays to buy these shares.
Yeah, I think what has changed of late is the techification of this whole process, where platforms onboard you as a person, they complete your KYC, they take your
Demat account details.
Account details, client master details.
So CMR copy.
Because all this is necessary in order to transfer these unlisted shares to your account.
Correct.
Whereas earlier it might have been done like over email, ya koi physical copy mang raha hota, but now it's all very systematic.
Sure.
And this is typically how these transactions take place, right? So let's say that you agree on a price with a platform or a broker. Then you give them your details, your Demat, your CMR, and you transfer the money beforehand, which is through whatever, NEFT, RTGS, UPI, Google Pay.
Well, yes.
Yeah. And then you wait and you hope that the guy gives you your shares.
Exactly. So the credibility of the platform really matters here, because if you are dealing with a third party which you really don't know and you have transferred the money, it is quite possible that they will not transfer the shares to your Demat. And the settlement process is not typically T+1 in this case. It can range from T+3 to T+21 or even T+6 months in the case of NSE listed shares.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's quite possible. So you have to really trust the counterparty to do the trade.
Yeah, because in an exchange, for example, if the other side defaults, then there are mechanisms to make good your loss, right? Here, there is nothing. I mean, yes, you can go to civil court and sue, but we all know how long that
Yeah.
takes in this country. Um, so this is how the unlisted or grey market operates. And it has heated up massively in the past few years. I think NSE has been a hot share for quite some
Long
time.
Yeah.
And the price has zoomed up. Like, I don't even remember what it was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. But I think it was around 3,000 and now it's around 6,000.
Yeah,
So
six,
double.
7. I've even
Yeah.
heard the word 7.
Yeah.
So it has zoomed up like crazy. And we'll come to this in a bit. But what I heard in relation to NSE is that a lot of people have stopped honoring their trades because
That is correct, because there's a bonus issue going on in NSE or stock split. I will have to check that. But because of certain compliances involved, NSE is so before transferring any sort of NSE shares, you need to take approval from NSE itself, which is a long and lengthy process, which is why it takes more than 6 months. But because there's an ongoing corporate action, they have stopped, transferring or honoring any sort of transfer of unlisted shares to different.
Right. No, but this is from NSE side. This is administrative.
It's an administrative
So what I'm
thing.
talking about is actually a lot of sellers who are seeing the price zoom and getting greedy.
Right.
And even though they've agreed to sell it at a particular price, they're like, forget it. Now you pay the
Yeah.
higher price.
But that's the
and
risk in OTC markets.
Yeah, people get away with
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. Another couple of shares that have kind of been on the roll in the unlisted space. So HDB Financial for a
Yes.
long time, supposed to go public next year.
Yeah.
Any other ones that you can think of?
Chennai Super Kings, CSK.
Right, yeah.
SBI Fund.
Oh, mutual
Management
fund.
Limited,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. That is getting hotter. Yeah.
Yeah. But they don't have any plans to go to IPO as far as I've read.
Yeah.
They are very happy operating a public limited unlisted share company.
Yeah.
Then OYO is a
Mm.
hot topic.
Mm.
OYO had actually plans to go to IPO, I think 2 years back, but because of market conditions, they didn't do.
Hmm.
And now they have actually turned around the company and are showing profit on their books. I mean, they're making profit, not showing
Yeah.
profit.
Yeah.
And there are a couple more. Swiggy being the hottest right now because
Yeah.
of all these celebrities
Yes. Yes.
infusing money into
I've
it.
lost count. Who all I've entered? Amitabh Bachchan ka naam dekha.
Madhuri Dixit.
Madhuri Dixit.
Uh,
People tagged her in response to my tweet that I wrote, who can you tell, come forward if you bought these shares, and people started.
oh, hope you get to meet Madhuri Dixit then.
I hope, yes.
So, but yeah, a lot of celebrities are buying into Swiggy because Swiggy's DRHP has already been approved.
Yeah.
And I think SEBI has okayed the IPO. So people are expecting it to come within the next 2-3 months.
Yeah.
And that's where all the steam in a unlisted market picks up, because it's a game of demand and supply.
Yeah.
When people see,
Yeah.
okay, this is a short story to go to IPO, people will suddenly want lots of shares of that company.
Yeah. So I've had a couple of conversations with people who have bought Swiggy shares, and I'm going to spell out the bull case for it. It doesn't mean I agree or disagree. It's just what I've heard. So the main bull case seems to be that Swiggy versus Zomato comparison.
Sure.
Because they are a kind of duopoly. They both have roughly equal market shares.
Sure.
And therefore people think that the market cap of Swiggy will converge with that of Zomato. So Zomato market cap is 2.5 lakh crores. Swiggy at the expected IPO price is around 1 lakh crores.
Yes.
So people think it will converge. Of course, this is a very, very optimistic scenario. Swiggy has higher costs. That's one bull point. The other bull point is people who have been buying CCPs. CCPS, which is compulsory convertible preference shares.
Correct.
I deserve a chocolate to get.
I'll get you one.
So essentially, this is an instrument which converts to ordinary shares at
Yes.
a particular ratio, which in this case is 14:1.
Correct.
And they have been listed cheaper in the unlisted market than the
Normal
actual
unlisted shares. Yes.
unlisted shares. So people have been getting CCPS at 350, 370, and the normal shares have been trading at 400, 30, 50.
500 as well.
Yeah, 500 as well. So people have been buying this stuff.
Yeah.
And another very interesting thing that I came across yesterday is that if you bid for a higher lot, you actually get a discount from
Correct.
the brokers.
The more you buy, the more you get as a
मतलब ये
discount.
सब्जी मंडी में होता है, but I have not seen this happening in the stock market पहले.
But that's the reason CCPS are also trading at a discount to your normal unlisted shares, because you have to buy minimum 1401 shares, which is around, considering 370 as a stock price, around 5.5 lakh rupees, which is a lot more than just buying a 500 rupee
Yeah.
share. So it's bargaining power.
Yes.
I would say.
Yes. So as our country is a nation of Jugaad, lots of people have pooled money from their friends.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely. I've also heard stories from my community that I just want to get into Swiggy or NSE. I'm going to liquidate even my listed holdings, pay tax on it, and then get into Swiggy because it's going to be the next Zomato.
Yes. Yes.
So
But can you break up CCPS into its components after you get allocation? Like,
So CCPS is nothing different from an unlisted share per se. It just doesn't have any voting rights. So when, let's say, PE or VCs, private equity funds or venture capitalists, get exposure or buy stake into a company, they do it via CCPS. The reason for that is founders don't want to give voting rights to these individuals. So CCPS, because they don't have any voting rights, they are allocated. But before going to the IPO, they will get converted into the normal unlisted equity share itself.
Okay, so
so
then-
there's no difference. per
So
se.
I think the way the Jugaad will work is that, let's say I pool my friends' money and I get 1401 shares.
Sure.
Then they convert to ordinary 1401 shares. So फिर उसके बाद मैं 200 200 200 करके सबको बांट
You
सकता
can gift it, but then you will have to pay taxes on it, I think.
Yes, the tax part can get complicated.
It can become very complicated because this is, again, before going to the IPO, you will have to do an OTC transaction,
Yes.
transfer it manually from your DMAT to another person's
Yes.
DMAT.
Yes,
And there can be tax complications to it.
yes, because as everyone knows, gifts from unrelated parties over rupees 50,000 are
Have to be
taxable.
declared as well.
Have to be declared as well. So yeah, it's a pretty complicated jugaad, but this is what people have been doing.
Yeah.
But
What I feel, the main euphoria in unlisted markets, the thing that people don't understand is they can't sell immediately after the listing happens. There is a 6-month lock-in for any sort of unlisted share, or even CCPS that converts into unlisted share. So a lot of people are equating it to an IPO, basically.
which it is not.
Which it is not. When you buy a share in an IPO, you can sell immediately for listing gains. In an unlisted share, there is a mandatory 6-month lock-in. So you can't really get any listing gains, and 6 months down the line, what will be the price? Who knows?
Yeah, that's very true. So let's now come to the two main risks of unlisted shares. So one that we already alluded to in case of NSE is that the other party may not honor that trade.
Counterparty risk.
Yeah, and there are no institutions enforcing contracts over there, apart from the usual civil courts, which takes a long time. The other is the example that happened with Reliance Retail in 2023, that companies can change the game for you. So Reliance Retail shares were also traded in the unlisted market, and they had zoomed all the way to 2,300 rupees. And then Reliance Retail announced that it was doing a capital reduction.
Yes.
किसी को पता भी नहीं था कि ऐसी कोई चीज़ होती है.
Exactly.
Which is essentially forcing you to sell back to the company at a predetermined price by the company, which was much lower than the unlisted price that
Almost
was going.
half.
Yeah, it was almost half. And yeah, people lost a ton of money in that.
Exactly. But that's the risk of OTC markets, and people don't really understand the game that well as well. Nobody knew that clause in the Companies Act. I mean, an average retail investor like me or you will never know something like that. But Reliance, for whatever reason, made the smart move.
Yeah. They seem to always
bought
make
it back.
the smart move. Okay. The final thing, and this is not so much a risk for investors as more of a regulatory issue, but a lot of platforms are matching buyers and sellers in the unlisted space. And that, technically speaking, requires a SEBI license. So they're operating what are called unlicensed exchanges. They are, in effect, illegal. SEBI can come after them at any point. And if you are a customer, if that action happens, you can be in jeopardy as well.
Yeah. I'll just say there are two different types of platforms here. One who are buying the inventory on their books and then downselling might not be an exchange. But yeah, there are platforms who are matching buyers and sellers without taking anything on their books. And they can be deemed as quasi exchanges, which can be on the grey side of the law, in the grey markets.
Yeah, yeah.
So
50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey.
Great, great. All right. So I hope viewers, this clears up this super hot topic. If you have invested, planning to invest, want to know anything about all of this, please reply in the comments. And you can also message Yash on his social media handles. Yash, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, Neil. Thank you.